Today we geek out about the Duel, Point of Honor. Hey guys, what's going on? This is Lee from Geek City USA here, and today we're going to talk about a game by Ironmark Games called The Duel, Point of Honor. Now this is coming to Kickstarter later this May, and it's a game that you play a robotic soldier that has a lifelong rivalry, and every few years you get together and you duel your opponent. And this is a card game for 2 people that's fairly quick and small to take with you, and I'm going to show you over here how to play it, and then we'll come back and I'll give you my thoughts on the game. Alright, now here's Duel, Point of Honor. Now, first things first, the goal of the game is to be the first person to end up with 7 prestige. And you're going to do that by winning duels against your opponent. And these red cubes here represent the damage that each player will take. And you'll notice here, when you take a look at the cards, that each card is going to have a number here, some wording, and then a kind of like a little ball or a bubble here, and then these icons. Now, when you play these cards, these are actually multi-purpose cards in the sense that you can either play them for this number value, and the lower number, whoever plays the lower number goes first, or you play them for the action here. And this here is what indicates the type of action, whether it's an attack, which is the red ones, or a tactic, which is the blue ones here. Alright, so of the 2 types of cards, both the attack and the tactics cards, the tactic card effects take place instantly. So if you were to play this, swap a timing card with the opponent, you would do that immediately. However, if you have a card that says fast, that happens first. So for example, in this case, your opponent plays thrust, attack 2 damage, and you were to play this one that says fast, discard an attack card that targets you, you would go ahead and discard this card, so your opponent would not do 2 damage to you, and then you would do the rest of this card, which is the attack for 1 damage. And again, these numbers in the upper left-hand corner indicate play order, with the lowest number going first. If there's ever a tie, so if, for example, you play a 3 and your opponent plays a 3, you would look at these little bubbles or balls in the upper right-hand corner, and the lower number between those 2 is a tiebreaker, and that's the one that would go first. Now there are 8 cards in the deck that have a little symbol up here in the upper right hand corner, and these are the advanced cards. And what happens is at the end of each round there's a condition for adding these to the deck. So as the game goes on, you will add an advanced card and then remove a standard card from the deck. And it's a bit of a deck building mechanic. However, if you say I pick this advanced card and I add it to my deck, later in the game this may actually end up in my opponent's deck. So you have to be aware of that when you're selecting your cards. So it's a pretty neat twist to the mechanic. So when you start your game, you're going to go ahead and set the advanced cards aside because you're not going to need those for the first duel. And then you're going to go ahead and separate the deck between you and your opponent. Each player will get 8 cards. And then you will look at your cards and then choose one to discard. However, if it's your first game playing, go ahead and just take 2 cards out randomly from the deck prior to dealing, so that way you don't have to try to understand the different strategies as to why you would keep each type of card. So then what you will be left with is 7 cards here. And both you and your opponent will take your cards, and you're going to take a look here, and there's actually 2 phases that you're going to play now. There is a timing phase, and then there's the action phase. And in the timing phase, each player is going to take a look through here and pick a card and play it based on the time value. So for example, if I decide that as this player I want to try to go earlier, I might play this card. Now if I play this as its time value, it cannot be played for its action. So let's say that as this player I'm going to play this card, and as this player I will just go ahead and take this card here. Now, oops, let's put these face down. Now as these cards are revealed, the 2 players compare, and then this would indicate that this player over here would go first. Now you don't discard these cards, you keep them in front of you, because at the end of the duel, the person with the lowest score actually will get some prestige points. Alright, so now that we've determined this player is going to go first, this player is going to pick a card from its hand, and they are going to go ahead and play it. So in this case, they will, let's just play this card. It's a fast card. Opponent receives 1 damage if you have at least 1 damage. Now, it's the start of the game. This player doesn't have any damage. So they'll just lay this down, and this will be an attack for 1 damage. Now, the opponent here can pick a card and select either to counter what they're doing maybe, if they have a tactics or a fast or something like that. And they don't, but what they'll do is they'll play this card. So we'll lay these down and we will go ahead and resolve these. So this person is going to go ahead and do 1 damage to this player here. And this player, who has a tactics card, which actually happens instantly, is going to swap a timing card with the opponent. And where this is cool is now that these cards have been played, this player can swap a timing card with the opponent. Well, I have this one verse 4, my opponent has one worth 3. I want to take the lower numbered card. So we'll go ahead and swap those. And that is the first part of the duel. So we can discard these cards, and then we're going to continue on. So we're going to say again, I'll pick, because I want to try to go first, I will play this 4. And this opponent's going to, let's say, play 7 this time around for whatever reason. Not really going into strategy, just kind of illustrating how the gameplay works. We'll reveal these 2 cards. This player is 7, this player is 4. So this person here would go first. And let's say that they want to play attack for 2 damage. So they'll go ahead and play this, and the opponent will play a card out of their hand. And we'll play this one right here, the parry and riposte card. Fast, discard an attack card that targets you and attack for 1 damage. So you can play this card. The opponent has to discard this card and then take a 2nd damage. So right now things aren't looking good for this player. So we'll go ahead and discard all the cards, and we will start for a 3rd time here. So we will play, we have multiple cards, so let's just play this 5. We'll play the one with the 1 dot, just in case the opponent plays a 5 as well. The opponent is going to pick a card and say, well, we're going to play the number 1 just because I want to go first, or maybe have the lower number here. We'll reveal these, and so this player will be the one to go first. They'll select a card from their hand, and we'll pick this one, swap a timing card with the opponent. And then this player will play, choose one player to remove up to 2 damage, or, well, we'll just do this one here. Look at the opponent's hand and attack for 1 damage, just to ease of gameplay here. So swap a timing card with the opponent. So I'm going to give you my 7, and I will take your 3. Okay, so that goes over here to this player. And then this player is going to, it doesn't matter, we don't need to look at the hand because it's the last part of the duel. And the opponent will take 1 damage. So these cards will get discarded. And then you actually don't play these last 2 cards, so they get discarded as well. And then we continue to the scoring. So when it comes to scoring, if you have 2 fewer damage than your opponent, you get 2 prestige. In this case, this player has 2 damage, this one has 1, so he only has 1 fewer, so he'll get 1 prestige out of the deal. So player 2 is 1 point closer to winning the game. If both players have the same amount of damage, they're both going to get 1 prestige cube. Now we take a look here and we total up the number of points on the timing cards. So in this case, we have 8. And here we have 16. So this player actually has a lower number of timing cards, and as such, they are going to get a prestige. So player 2 is currently in the lead with 2 prestige. Now, this is where the advanced deck comes into play. So we're going to shuffle this deck, set that there. And now the player with the most damage in the round is going to take as many cards from the advanced deck as they have damage cubes. So we're going to take 2 cards here and pick 1 to keep. So not really going to go through the strategy of them, but let's just say that we want to take this card. I like it. If our opponent receives 1 damage, or they get 1 damage if they have more prestige than you, and then you can attack for 1 damage. So I'm going to take this card as this player. And then this card is going to be put on the bottom of the deck. Now this player only has 1 damage, so he'll get to take 1 card, and that's the one that he gets to add to his deck. Now all damage cubes are going to go back to the supply. Now each player is going to take their advanced cards and set them in front of themselves. We're going to take all the other cards in the game, and we are going, not the advanced cards, we are going to shuffle them together. And I just took the advanced cards, didn't I? Okay. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, cool. So we're going to take the advanced cards, set them aside, take all the remaining cards, and we're going to shuffle them on up. Then we're going to redistribute them to each player. Now, each player has to select 1 card from their hand and remove it from the game. So we'll do this just randomly here. And you'll actually pick which card you want to take out of the game, but for the sake of this, I just did it randomly. And then you will take your advanced cards and place them in your respective decks. And then you continue, you move on to the next duel. You go to the timing phase, you say, okay, this guy's gonna go first. He's gonna pick a card to play. You know, choose a tactics or attack. Opponent may not resolve cards of that type. So we'll say attack. So the opponent here, I couldn't play an attack card if I want to, so now I have to play tactics. So let's say I play this one. Choose one player to gain 1 prestige and receive 1 damage. I'll pick myself. I'll take 1 of each. And then you continue on until you finish the duel. Now, if you recall, we added those advanced cards to our deck, and we will continue to do so in the following rounds. However, when you're done with this round here, all these cards are going to get shuffled together, including the advanced cards that you drew the last round. So let's say, you know, it's time for the next round. These are the 2 advanced cards that each player picked, and these all get dealt out. It is possible for one player to end up with more advanced cards than the other player. So that's something to keep in mind with regards to the strategy here. And then you will continue to play different rounds until one player ends the game with 7 prestige. And then that player would win. And that is how you play the Duel Point of Honor. All right, guys, that was the Duel Point of Honor. So let's start by talking about the components and the art. Now, this was a prototype, so definitely everything can change by the time the game is released. However, I will say that the prototype components were well produced. It was very high quality for a prototype. And the art, I thought, was very simplistic art, and it fit the theme perfectly. It gave the vibe of a futuristic robotic soldier. It really fit the dueling theme, and for how the art looked, I enjoyed it. I thought it fit the game just perfectly. So let's talk about the gameplay. So I found the gameplay of this game to be very interesting. I like the fact that your cards could either be used for timing or for their powers. And as such, you had to make very, very careful decisions based on your opponent, what you thought they might have in their hand, in order to make the best decisions and to hopefully either score a wound on your opponent or gain some prestige. I also thought that the fact of getting to take an advanced card at the end of each round and then it getting shuffled back into the deck later was a really neat idea, because you could pick a card that was powerful and exactly what you wanted, but after that one turn, you stand the chance of your opponent having that card the rest of the game. So you kind of have to play to your opponent's play style as well as to your own. And yeah, sure, you want the most powerful combinations for you, but you have to remember that your opponent is going to potentially get that card later on. So I thought that was an excellent mechanic to the game, a very neat idea for the deck building portion of the game. All right, the audience of this game. Now, this is a game that is easy to teach and it's easy to understand. So as such, I think that this is a game that will fit everybody from maybe the casual gamer all the way over to the heavier gamer, because there's enough strategy there that the heavier gamer will be captivated and enjoy that aspect of the game. And I think it's easy enough to understand that the lighter gamers and casual gamers will be able to pick it up as well. I think that the replayability factor of this game is quite high because it's an easy game to teach and to learn. I think it's a game that you can present to other people. I also think that with it being a quicker game and a game that you can fit in your pocket, you can play it over dinner, you can play it if you have a couple minutes in between other games with your friends, and I think this is a game that is interesting enough in its theme and its mechanics that's going to have you wanting to play it again and again. I've never played this game just once and then put it away. I've always played it once and then had a request either by the other person or by me to do another playthrough of it right away after. I think that has to do with the different strategy and how close a lot of these games are. I haven't really had a game that one player has run away with, so it's really always down to the wire, and you always think that you're going to get your opponent and they might just eke out a win at the end. So based upon that, I think this is definitely a game that will see a lot of replayability. All in all, I've really enjoyed this game. We've had a lot of fun with this game, and if you are looking for a two-player game and the theme seems interesting to you, I definitely recommend that you check this game out. Again, it's quick, it's fun, easy to understand, easy to teach, and there's enough strategy in that box that just makes it really worth checking out, in my opinion. All right, guys, that's it. Thanks for hanging out with us today. Be sure to like and subscribe and comment down below so I can interact with you. And also check out our other social pages on Facebook, Instagram, Twitter, and all that stuff. And I'd love to interact with you, get to know you guys a little better. Once again, I'm Lee from Geek City USA, and thanks for hanging out with us. We'll see you next time.